We see them all along I-15. Interesting, sometimes unusual stops that grab our attention.
And maybe you're in such a hurry to get where you're going that you've never stopped at them before.
All this week, we've been revealing the secrets of I-15.
Tonight, News 3's Gerard Romalo joins us live outside one of the most recognizable diners along the highway near the town of Yermo. It's Peggy Sue's Diner.
Well, that's right, Jim. You know, we've all seen the signs and we probably all asked the same question. I wonder if that place is any good. Well, tonight I can tell you it is actually quite good, and it's much more than a traditional diner. But we're starting our piece tonight across the way in an old mining/ghost town that was famous for producing a whole lot of silver. Day 3 of our journey takes us about 150 miles south of Las Vegas, near the town of Yermo. Just west of the highway is an old silver mining prospect turned ghost town. Calico, established in 1881, drew miners from across the region, including Nevada.
Yeah, the mines up there in the mountains, and then we got the town here. Well, to get the stuff they needed, the railroad right down there.
Unlike other ghost towns, in Calico, many of the original buildings, even some of the mines, are accessible by the public.
And there's 30 miles plus and 9 different levels of tunnels.
There's also a ghostly legend with a Nevada connection. The Mulcahy Widow, Catherine, and her 7 children who worked in the mines are said to still haunt the premises. The family relocated to Calico after the father was killed in a mine in Pioche, Nevada.
There were fights in saloons, there were fights with knives, there were fights with chairs.
Make no mistake, this was the Wild West. There were hustlers and swindlers, and because the town didn't have a jail, outlaws were kept in a cellar of the general store until they could be transported.
Thank God. It's so hot in there.
The town of Calico eventually closed in 1898, but altogether the mountain produced more than $10 million worth of silver. If miners were to show up today,
There's all kinds of silver up in those hills, oh yes.
our next stop is at what may be the most popular diner between Nevada and California. The billboards point the way.
Peggy Sue, pretty, 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 pretty Peggy Sue, oh Peggy.
We were going to call it Blueberry Hill and Maybelline's, and a friend of ours said, well, your name is Peggy Sue, why don't you name it after yourself? I said, okay,
Yeah.
So we did.
Meet Peggy Sue Gabler, a former theater and film actress turned restaurant mogul.
Hi guys, welcome to Peggy Sue's.
She purchased the diner back in 1986 and turned it into the attraction it is today.
Tell me about the various rooms and what people will see when they come out.
Well, the original diner had 9 bar stools and 3 booths, and it was called the Dutch Maid, opened in the early 50s by a Dutch couple, and they sold pies in here.
Everything in her diner is as true to the 50s era as possible, from the food to the jukeboxes and decor to the soda fountain.
Full soda fountain and malt shop.
All right.
Peggy says she always wanted her diner to be more than just a quick food stop, and that's why she added a dinosaur park. Make that dinosaur park for the kids. Most of her customers, she says, are repeats, and there's one phrase she likes to hear more than anything else.
We'll be back. So we say, see you later, alligator.
Peggy Sue, oh how my
I forgot to mention the place is actually a whole lot of fun as well, and you know, they have grown so much. They literally started with that one counter and those few booths. Now they have 8 rooms all together. They have an outdoor area that is actually quite expansive. They tell me they have about 70 employees all together, and the only day that they're closed throughout the year is Christmas Day.
Looks like a really fun spot. I know, I want to go right now. So Gerard, back to the ghost town. You mentioned widow of a miner. What about any other notable Nevadans?
Yeah, you know, Elijah Blasdell was one of the very first residents in Calico. He is actually the brother of Henry Blasdell. I'm not sure if that name rings a bell, but he was the very first governor of Nevada. So this is how far back this all dates, and there were quite a few other Nevadans as well, because as you know, the miners, they traveled wherever the silver or gold was, and a lot of them came right down here.
This has been such a great history lesson this week. Let's get back to the diner behind you. I want to stop by now just to meet Peggy Sue. She's a character. Are there any days that are better than others? They have any big events and parties there?
Well, I tell you what, she told me, she said, I've got to warn you, you know, it's probably going to be very busy. And it was full when we walked in. The lunch hour is always a rush hour, but they do work very quickly. What we couldn't show you was the very backyard area. They actually have a full stage and a theater there. There are 2 dance floors, one inside, one outside. They hold a number of events throughout the years, and in fact, they hold a number of weddings here throughout the year. So who knew Peggy Sue's Diner was such a popular stop? Jessica will send it back to you.
It's on my list now. I'll be there soon. Gerard, thank you.
Yeah.